Over to you, Andrew.
Fine. So you're considering an application at 111 Brent Street?
Yes.
Fine. You'll know that the original application was approved for 2 detached houses. And this application is to convert one of the detached houses, well, not convert, but actually to change the layout into 2 semi-detached houses. So this will increase the footfall and the footprint. And also there is an indication that there will be 3 parking spaces for each house, each of the semi-detached houses. So this really does increase enormously, well, significantly, shall we say, the footfall of this particular development. And we at 103 do actually object to this. You may wonder why 103 objects, because this is 111, but in fact our property actually abuts directly onto 111. There is no 105, 107 and 109 are semi-detached cottages, and whilst they are overlooked, will be overlooked by the development, may not be directly affected. So all I can say is that we do object to this. This will obviously increase the light pollution that we get, the lack of privacy and the overlooking. And I note also in the submission from the developer that they suggest that because there have been previous developments or approved developments in back gardens, particularly at 115, that this should also be approved. But in fact, you may well know that the approval at 115 was for a retirement property for the people who lived in 115, but they have actually sold their property and moved from the area. So we can only say that I feel this is just, the basis of this is just pure greed. It's just easier to sell 2 semi-detached houses than 1 detached one. And we deplore these developments. They're out of keeping with the village, and we'll leave it to you to decide whether you feel that this should go ahead. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you.
Would you like me to sign off now so that you can carry on?
Well, in theory, once you've had, well, first of all, are there any questions that anyone wants to ask Andrew in relation to 111 Brent Street? Anything at all? I think it has come up before. I don't think at the time Andrea was around and she dealt with this one. It was, sorry? We did discuss it at the time, but we take on board your comments, Andrew, and we will obviously consider it in the light of your comments and planning criteria in particular. So
you can stay in the room, of course, Andrew. Andrew can stay in the room, of course.
Yes, yeah, you can stay in the room, Andrew, but unfortunately you won't be able to join in the formal meeting, but you can stay in by all means and listen.
Well, I appreciate your listening to me, and so I'll sign off now if that's okay.
Okay, nice to see you, and thanks very much for coming to speak to us.
Well, thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye. In theory, we have Mark Warren, who's recorded an interest to speak to us. Has he beamed into us yet, Owen?
No, I haven't seen him.
Okay. In that case, I think we'll enter into our formal meeting because it's turned 7 o'clock. That's our appointed time for our meeting. Can I just say before I start, it is very difficult to keep a track on everyone in the meeting, and it's not my intention to ignore anyone at all, but I obviously can't see you all the time and register that you want to speak. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at the participants who are in the meeting, and if you want to speak, please either raise your hand or alternatively put your microphone on mute now and then unmute it if you want to speak, because I can look at all the participants and see who wants to speak to me. I think that's probably the best way. And for Malcolm, if he just made an acknowledgement through Owen, then we'll pick Malcolm up that way as well.
No,
but
Malcolm's not with us, actually.
What, Malcolm isn't? Oh, okay, all right. So I think that's the best way of me monitoring people. So I don't want people to feel that they're being ignored. So let's open the meeting. Bob?
Yeah, it was just, Colin was just going to say, I don't know whether other members know about pressing on that button that you mentioned, the participants, where they can then see everyone listed down the right-hand side. And there is a button, as you say, that says raise hand, but you only get to see the raise hand button if you've got the participants window open.
Okay. If you check on, press on the participants, you'll see everybody down there. Thank you, Bob. Okay, let's make a start. Welcome to the this 16th of September meeting. Can we receive any apologies, please, Owen?
I've had formal apologies from David Knott, which is fine. As far as Malcolm is concerned, I can't tell you. I've tried to get hold of him this evening, and he's on one of these 152 filtering systems on his phone. I can't do much about that. So
okay.
I haven't actually had apologies for him, but he's not here.
Okay. All right. Are you all happy that I accept, well, we accept those apologies? Can you just signify, show your hands or something like that? Thank you. Well done. To receive declarations of pecuniary interest, personal, prejudicial. Bob on planning. Anyone else? Can you signify?
Yeah.
Brian.
Me, yeah. On personal and prejudicial.
On
Personal and prejudicial. That's what I, last time it came up, I absented myself from the discussion.
which planning?
No, sorry, number 111.
111. So yeah. You're out of the discussion on 00009, which is 100 Brent Street. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay. So Andrea, item 3, 0720 00009.
We need to put
Bob. Can you put me in the waiting room, please?
Can you put Bob in the waiting room? Sorry.
Hold on.
We'll get there sometime. Okay.
And Brian's here.
And Brian.
Mm-hmm.
So that means we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. Andrea, do you want to take this one?
Okay. So 111 Brent Street. Plan permission has been granted by Sedgemoor for the erection of a pair of detached houses in the rear garden of this property and the partial demolition and rebuilding of an extension to the property known as the Weavers. This was permitted under consent reference 0719 00019. Okay, so following from that, there's conversations with the potential end user, and the opinion of the local estate agent has decided that a pair of semi-detached 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom properties instead of a single larger unit is a better use of the site. And that would be 1 detached and 2 semis. Therefore, this is a new application to replace the smaller detached house with a pair of semi-detached houses and to change the orientation. Part of this reasoning behind this change has been local agents have advised that other developments going on in the village, a large house in a smaller plot with a substantially larger property next door might prove difficult to sell. There is a strong demand for smaller properties, especially those where there is space for somebody to potentially work from home. So that's the reasoning behind this application. It's a large plot. I don't know if you've all seen the layout. The Weavers has an extension to the left-hand side when you're facing it, and they're saying that they want to take that down to actually make an access to the house, to the three houses at the back. They have filled in the application because there has already been approval to this. It is whether or not we are happy for it to become two single semis rather than one detached with the second detached house.
Shall I launch it? And I personally am opposed to this. I think it's an overdevelopment. I always felt the original one, which I voted against, was an overdevelopment. It's not in keeping. It's further evidence of backfill. I know that's not a planning reason, but I'll put backfill on the back burner. But if you have, what you'll effectively have is 3 families living in this small area. They've allowed 6 parking spaces, and 2, I assume, will go, or 4 will go for the 2 semis. 2 will go to the single dwellings, which are to the single dwelling, which is supposed to be owned by the occupier. It is, my view, totally overdeveloped. I'm sorry, and I feel that we've got enough houses in this village of all makes, sizes and offerings that we're more than adequately catered for in Station Road and 2 Brent Street. My view is you'll have 6 cars, or could be at various, zooming up and down the narrow path between the small cottages that are situated there. There's no parking for visitors, so they'll have to park on the road, which is further jamming up Brent Street. I just feel it is an overdevelopment, but that's my view. And I'll invite others. John.
I totally agree with what you said. I also agree with what Ms. Scott said. I think it's a dreadful idea. I think it's a total overdevelopment of the area, and that is really all I need to say.
Thank you. Anybody else? Warwick?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with your sentiments. I do think it's overdevelopment of that parcel. However, they have got planning permission to put the 2 detached houses in. So regardless what we say, the 2 detached houses would go in anyway. I do agree it's an overdevelopment. And I think we should object to them trying to tweak the design to get an extra house in on a very small plot of land. And also bear in mind that the other side of 113, 115 are applying to do the same. They're trying to put a house in at the back of there. So it's not going to be just a couple of houses. It'll be quite a chunk of them behind already. I just think it's total overdevelopment, and that's my view.
Yeah, thanks, Warwick. So, Andrew, oh, sorry, Nigel.
Sorry, I was on mute. I was just going to echo what all 3 of you said there. I agree with overdevelopment, but also to the point with regards to the number of families, but what those families bring with them, such as those vehicles and the parking spaces and where they would park, and any visitors as well, and the disruption with those vehicles down that lane to the other residents.
Thanks, Nigel. So, oh, yes, sorry, Cynthia, go on.
I actually agree with what has been said already, that it is an overdevelopment, and I actually opposed it before when it came in a different form. but it's not the right place to be putting those houses. And as you said, you have got a supposed to have new houses going up in Brent Knoll, and also you've got the parking problems. If they're not going to have enough space for visitors, etc. But yes, I certainly oppose it.
I think we've got that, that you are not supporting this application essentially for the reasons that we've discussed. Is that correct, Cynthia? Okay. Okay. Andrew, do you want to make a proposal based on those comments?
I think we'd like to register an objection to this application, that it was approved against what we wanted originally. So district have actually said that they can put 2 detached houses on there, making it 3, to whose benefit? Another family, another 4 people, another 2 cars, when we've already just put so many houses in our village since that application was approved. So I would like to say, I would like to put forward to the councillors that we actually reject this, and we propose an objection to the application.
Okay, there's your proposal. Do I have a seconder for that, please? John? Okay, or Warwick? Okay, all those in favour? That's unanimous, Owen. Thank you. Okay, Andrea, we can bring back in Brian, please. Okay, Brian, we're going to consider a planning application 0018 now, which is 115 Brent Street. Okay.
Right.
Andrea, before you start, can I just add something to this one? We did object to this on the base originally on the basis of infill.
Yeah.
And I went down to Sedgemoor District Council and put our case, and I think Cynthia and Bella came down with me that day, and our was on infill basis, and that we didn't want any more infill, and we were told quite categorically that that is not a legitimate planning objection. And what they did actually, they praised the standard of design and potential development of this site with its professional approach to infill. And I think we really, the planning committee just passed it on the basis of its design and its suitability for the area. So all I'm saying, that's how they viewed it at the time, but please carry on now.
Okay, so this is a full planning application for the land at Brockley House, which is 115 Brent Street. Thank you for what you've just said, because that's on my paperwork. So originally that was passed and approved, and the development comprises of a single and 1.5 story dwelling with associated car parking and landscaping. So that was approved 3 years ago, and because they haven't put a shovel in the ground to start that, their planning has expired. So they're saying that after working in collaboration with the case officer, previous planning was granted for the application 3 years ago, but due to ongoing discussions regarding the access route, the application expired on the 1st of August 2020. Before the property was able to be constructed. We are now in a position to move forward and would therefore like to submit to renew the former application. Please note this application has no material amendments from the original planning application in 2017. So we have an option here. We can go with our first thoughts, that overdevelopment of the site, that we didn't like it, we didn't think it was appropriate, it wasn't in keeping with the village. we could say about the increase of the population, the impact. However, are the district going to override that again? Say, well, we approved it 3 years ago, so you know, you haven't got a leg to stand on this time as you did last time.
Well, from my own, but I can see where the points you're making, and I would agree with you. We would have to be pretty confident of our reasons for rejecting this one, particularly as it is a well thought out site and superbly designed. If you look, I think Tucker, the developers, I think his daughter is an architect and did the design. And it is a very, if you like, eco-friendly house. I don't see it as a, I mean, Andy Goff mentioned that it was a retirement property, but at no time during any discussions was it ever stated to be a retirement property.
Right.
So I'm not sure about that.
What the problem has been for the 3 years has been the access.
Yeah.
That there are no objections to the house or where it's situated or the noise or its character, nothing. It has been about the access. And they say in there quite categorically that they have now discussed the access route, and the application now is being put forward because they believe that they've solved all the problems with the access.
Yeah, well, he's sold the house at the front now, hasn't he? Which has presumably released cash to do the deal with the person who owns the access, which he didn't, and neither did the house next door to it. I don't think, either the one that's just been developed. It was owned by someone else, and he's obviously got that agreement now, by the sound of it. So, I mean,
you know, that since the proposal has already been agreed, and that they're just asking for it to be, you know,
renewed, really.
Yeah, exactly. That we don't pass any observation whatsoever. No observations.
That would I would go with you, but what does Brian feel? Cynthia, John, Nigel, what do you feel about it? Can you signify?
I think we go along with what you said, because they put a very strong case for it in the past, haven't they? And
yeah,
more or less pushed aside your thoughts. So yeah. I don't think we'll have a leg to stand on, personally. No.
John?
As a layman.
Yeah, John?
Well, really, I'm not quite certain how we got the thing approved in the first place. I think it's overdevelopment. It's presumably, now it's a re-application. There's very little we can say. I object to it. Objected in the first place, but we are where we are.
What explanation have they given for the access now being approved? What is it? How different is it going to be? Because coming out of that little lane is obviously quite dangerous. They're just not far from the corner. So we haven't heard the reason why they've allowed it to go through. Well, or agreed. But it's acceptable now. The access is acceptable. We haven't got any details, have we?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite get all that. Did
if the access has been the problem, and they now say that they've got agreement with whoever.
What's changed?
What has changed? We don't know that, do we?
Well, no, the access problem, Cynthia, has always been a right of access between the two properties to get into the development. it hasn't been a question of, if you like, width of road or coming out onto a main road. It hasn't been the developer's land, and he hasn't had a right of access over it. Now he's got a right of access, so that now he can get to his property.
And this, this has already been agreed. This was already approved 3 years ago. Obviously, those discussions have been taking place over that 3 years. Now the circumstances have changed that he has got that access. So therefore, he is now asking for that planning permission to actually be renewed.
So we can build it.
So we can now get on and do it.
I would say, what were the learnings? So Colin, you said that you went to the council and they gave you an explanation. So were there any learnings from the council then that you may have wished to have objected on different grounds? If there was, then this is the chance to do that. If not, then I would say we give a response of no observations.
Yeah, I suppose our main concern at the time was, if you like, overdevelopment, because we saw it as people using their large gardens to merely build a property and infill. And that has happened a lot in Brent Knoll. I mean, when I went to SDC, statistics were placed before me by the Tuckers, who'd obviously done their homework, that a large number of properties in Brent Knoll have in fact done this project of backfill or infill. We registered it on that basis, backfill, if you like, and overdevelopment. And I said, the argument was, if we start allowing backfill, everybody's going to be doing backfill. And it's proved to be the case in 111 Brent Street, that they're now doing backfill. So, you know, the planning committee didn't understand, if you like, what the problems were in Brent Knoll, but they just saw this, as they quite rightly should have seen it, as a particular development which is well designed in a large plot, and they saw no reason at all to refuse it. So what we want for our village, i.e. no backfill and keep it as it is, enjoy the lovely views we've got, was ignored. So that was the lesson I learned. Yeah.
But so if the feelings about that, if the position hasn't changed since then why are we saying no observations? Why did we not go with the same objection as last time, regardless of whether we're preempting the outcome of the decision from the council, from the district council?
Yeah,
I agree.
Fair point.
Andrea, go on.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point, isn't it? That, you know, what Nigel's saying. And again, this is what all this discussion is about, is to actually come...
The position hasn't changed as a council.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't changed as a council. No. Just because it went to panel and then it was agreed, do we still object to it? You know, Cynthia and John are saying they do.
Well, it certainly goes with our, I mean, to my mind, 111 should never have gone through, but it did. And we've shown that we still believe in that, insofar that we're most unhappy with the principle of building more houses in somebody else's back garden. And the same applies here, I quite agree. But even though we refuse, I'm just saying that SDC planning may well override us, but we can make the point.
I think we should stick to our principles. If that's what we believe for this village, then we should continue to stick to that, regardless of what the outcome is with the district council.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I agree.
If we put it to the panel, I mean, if we put an objection forward, it won't just be it won't just be approved, you know, a tick of the box. It will go to a meeting and it will be discussed at length, you know, between the district councillors, rather, who are, you know, the knowledgeable people that are the planners that would see the bigger picture. You know, we can put forward locally how we feel, you know, backfilling and overdevelopment, and it's not something that as a village we want to do. This was approved 3 years ago, you know, against what we wanted. However, they got their approval, but did nothing about it. So that the access has changed now, but have our feelings changed? And by what I'm hearing from everybody else, no, they haven't changed. We still are happy about this.
Yeah, well, we should. I move to suggest that we object to it on the grounds of overdevelopment, and kick it back to the council.
So that'd be layout and density of buildings. We're quite happy with the design and the appearance, aren't we?
Yes, it is a well-designed structure. There's no doubt about it.
Road access, would you put that in as an objection? Road access?
No, I would just put it as to be honest with you, as an overdevelopment, and you can put road. I mean, the road access is very narrow, and the construction process will, I would have thought, be exceedingly disruptive to the houses either side. I'm not sure lorries will even get down there, but that's the way it is at the moment if you look at it. John?
I would either propose or second overdevelopment.
Okay, so has made a proposal that we refuse this once again on the grounds of overdevelopment. It's seconded by John.
I'm persuaded by Nigel's argument as well over this.
Okay, thanks, Brian. So, all those in favour of refusing this development on the grounds of overdevelopment? That's unanimous. And I think it shows that as a parish council, we're sticking to our guns as we have done in 111 and we have done in 115. Yeah. Okay. It just seems crazy to me to see all our back gardens just put for development when we've gone through torture as a council, or going through torture to get 2 sites developed with sensible housing, making an offer, and people just building outside those requirements. Okay, thank you very much. Can you let me in? Okay. Okay. Emergency community shock matters. Owen, do you want to, or Bob, do you want to address us on that briefly? Bob?
Yeah. Well, just an update as to what's happening at the moment. As far as we're aware, there are some discussions taking place with the emergency shop as to how they see their future going forward, as to whether they're looking to remain at the existing premises they're in, or whether they will look to move elsewhere within the village. They are making a sort of initial sounding out, I think would be the best way of putting it, that they would like us to consider as a parish council whether we might be prepared to allow what they call a shop in a box to be erected on the area around the toilet block that would be a new premises. I think at the moment, as I say, it's very much a sounding out exercise to see what our general feeling is, but obviously we would need to have a lot of detail from them before we can actually consider a proper proposal. But I think it was, as I say, just to bring it to you to let you know that there is some discussion starting with them as to how they see their future moving forward. I don't know whether you want.
Yeah, we'll keep you all informed of anything that comes through. John?
I think we're talking about a shipping container, aren't we?
We're not talking about anything at the moment, John. It's just talk, and I don't want you to jump to any conclusions. Okay. Anything else on? Yes, Brian.
Could you explain that shop in a box idea, Bob?
Yes, basically what it is it is basically a shipping container that is fitted out to be a shop. Now, as you know, there are lots of uses being looked at for those sort of structures at the moment. They're looking at them as potential flats and stuff in places like Bristol. They're creating buildings out of them. So it's not simply a steel shipping container. It is a fitted out piece of kit, but it's basically the dimensions of a shipping container.
And the site is the village toilet, is it? On that land in front?
No, there's no definite site at the moment. We've been approached as to a possible location that might be considered, but it would be something that we'd need, obviously, detailed plans to be able to consider it. And that's the message we've passed back to the shop is we would let you know what the situation was, but that before anything actually would happen, there would have to be something proper to discuss for the parish council to be able to look at something meaningful rather than just an airy-fairy idea. But what we didn't want to have happen was rumours coming back through the village and you sort of picking up that something might have been decided when nothing has been decided. There's just been an initial sounding out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Matters of report for the next meeting. Andrea?
Nothing from me, thank you.
Warwick?
Nothing from me.
Okay, Brian?
Yeah, I would like to mention yet again the road markings on the A38 towards the roundabout, and at the roundabout. It may not be in our parish, but they are a disgrace. You can hardly see them, and it's dangerous. I've been around there a few times. You can't tell where the lanes are now at all. It's all been washed away, and they need replenishing.
Okay, thank you.
And also, can I ask Owen about that fly tipping towards Barrow? Do you know if anything's been done? Massive amount of fly tipping on the corner where people take their dogs down the lane.
I honestly don't know, Brian. Actually,
no, okay.
Okay. Cynthia, anything?
Well, I was walking down Crooked Lane this morning, and it looks as if somebody's been doing some work because there's some of the safety kind of fencing stuck in the ditch, but that's a lot of other things. You go over the railway bridge, and just as you come to the first lot of loose boxes in the field, there's a ditch there and a whole load of rubbish in it. So whether that's fly tipping or not, I don't know, because it's all thrown in there. I just noticed it this morning. Okay.
Okay, thank you. John?
Yeah, thank you.
No. Nigel?
No, nothing from my side, thank you.
Bob?
Nothing other than to reply to Brian in terms of the fly tipping. It has been reported to clean surroundings, but I haven't been down there to check if they've cleared it.
Thank you. Owen?
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, there's quite a lot going on at the moment down in Bakersfield, of course, and we are probably going to get quite a bit of flack over the next few weeks. So you may want to be in readiness for a lot of email flows from residents to me, which I will naturally forward on to your good selves. What you do about them, of course, is a matter for you and not me. But clearly we're going to get quite a lot of flack, I think, over the next couple of weeks. And I think we have to be very prepared for that. The other thing I just wanted to say was, I was rather surprised when I sent out the financial ongoing issues report about 3 weeks ago. There was an item on there which I was surprised not to get any comments on. And that item was to do with a £10,000 grant to the parish council from the government. And only 2 members of this council queried it. Now that leads me to a conclusion that either you didn't read it or it didn't make any sense. But that am I right in thinking that you did spot it, or you all spotted it? Because it's a significant amount of money. 10 grand, a third of our precept.
Right, but the thing is that because of COVID, as company owners, we were fully aware that that was something that we could claim ourselves, and I thought it would just be automatic that the parish council would do the same because the opportunity was there.
Well, we applied for it. We didn't
got it.
know whether we were going to get it or not. But I just make the point because obviously, yeah, you probably are aware, Andrew, being in business, but others perhaps were not.
Our name's on the list. We've applied as well.
Yeah, exactly. But it just surprised me that nobody picked up on it, and I was just a little surprised. That was all.
I would have been surprised if it had been for your holiday fund or.
Well, it was suggested actually. But we have £10,000 additional in our community fund, call it whatever you will. I'm suggesting that when we discuss it in the next meeting, we look at it in terms of our reserves. We have to take account, of course, when we come to the precepts. I think in probably just a little over 2 months' time, that money will have to be shown somewhere as part of our precept structuring. And what we do with it, of course, is rather dependent on what the outcome is of our precept.
Yeah.
So we just need to think about what we're going to do with that over the coming months.
On a final note, can I just say thank you to John for organising the village green new fencing. I hope you can all get down and have a look to the right-hand side of the village green, because it has made quite a difference. The old hedges, the old fencing's gone, all the old shrubs have been taken out in accordance with each owner's ideas and responses, and I think they're all very pleased with it. So well done, John, and thank you for organising that. It's a good job done. Thank you. The only thing I'm concerned about, Owen, is that our October meeting, we seem to be developing quite a lot of business. And I'm just wondering whether we can separate some of the items out into what is probably parish council business as opposed to parish council discussion, which is not particular business. And have a separate meeting at some stage, a discussion meeting, particularly with the people that want to make presentations. Is that a sensible route?
What we could do, we could effectively sort of, if you like, identify the most important items for the main meeting, but say that we will have a provisional meeting to bring some of the other lesser items into the mix. So we're committing ourselves to 2 meetings in October, effectively. So we could do that if people feel that's appropriate. There's at least, well, I think you saw on my list, there's at least 13 items at the moment. Some of which won't be very long, but some are going to take, and of course that depends on implications from the piling issue and whether there's anything comes out as a result of that. We've got issues regarding the letting of properties in Bakersfield, and Bob will be able to give us no doubt more information on that in due course. Duncan Harvey's coming to the meeting, so he will be able to update us on Bakersfield and what's happening there. That'll probably take up a good half an hour, I suspect. So we just need to, I think, prioritise what we think to be the most important issues. So Colin and I have a chat maybe before the meeting and decide what we think, and then you can elaborate on that when we issue the first draft agenda. Does that sound sensible?
Is everybody happy with that? Can you signify or either thumb up or thumb down? Yeah, okay. So Owen and I'll have a chat and we'll try and separate the business, and hopefully we can get 2 meetings where we deal with the, if you like, the main stuff at our main meeting and superficial stuff that we don't require a big decision, but information, really, and then it'll take it all the way to stop, really, to stop long Zoom meetings, which can be a bit tedious. And
one of the items that we really must make a decision on is dog bins, and the replacement dog bin, or the new dog bin, has been rumbling around now since about January, and I think one or two residents have pointed that out. But when are we going to make a decision on it? So I think that's very high priority for the October meeting, I think.
Okay, well,
I'll make sure we have all the costings available to make that decision.
Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, I don't think there's any other business. So with your permission, I'll wrap up the business and say thanks very much for your input, everybody. I hope I haven't ignored anybody or forgotten to speak to somebody who wants to make a point, but it's been a good meeting. Thank you for your input, Andrea, and thank you for your input, everyone else. Okay, see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Hold on, I can't get out of it.
Owen, are you able to stop the recording?
Yes, I am. I've stopped it.